My mom passed away last year, the day before my birthday, after over 5 months of suffering. She didn't know how bad she was, and then it was too late to make a will. She even mentioned this to me the last time I saw her, a couple of weeks before she passed. She apologized to me, and even said that since her husband was getting it, I probably wouldn't see a penny of it. Because of the state she passed in, all the inheritance went to her husband. I was on good terms with him, and he agreed to share half of it with me, to my surprise. It was nice to know I could trust him, and he was the only thing left I had that was connected to my mother. All of my other family has passed away, so I'm all on my own. After many months of going back and forth with him and trying to figure out when he would send me the money, I realized he was lying to me. He kept giving me excuses and stories about how he'd send it to me tomorrow, next week, next month. It never stopped. At one point he told me he had a relative in Europe that left him $1 million, and if I could just wait until he got that, he would double what he told me he would give me. Finally, I had enough of being jerked around, and I told him I thought he was lying. He blocked my number. There was nothing I could do? Or was there? It's not much, but I realized that while I could not see his friends list on Facebook, I could see all his posts where his friends commented. I could see all the birthday wishes left on his profile. So I went to all of those people and sent them a carefully crafted message about what happened and how much money he got. The thing about my mom's husband is that their whole relationship, he was dealing with issues his brother caused when their father passed, and the brother stole the power of attorney and stole all of the inheritance. All of his friends and family have been hearing stories about how shit his brother is and how he was going to pay. Now this man is doing to me what his brother did to him. Even if his friends don't care about him being a bad person, maybe they would be interested in knowing how much money he got. I've heard the stories about people winning the lottery and how all their friends and family turned on them. I'm hoping he will get some shit from some people, and even more people contacting him with their hands out. I hope he ends up with no one on his side, so he'll know how I feel being on my own. Comment by user. Nicely done. I hope karma truly does sort him out and give him what he deserves. I'm so sorry for your loss. Losing a parent sucks. And as one grieving adult child to another, I wish you so much peace and happiness. Reply by original poster. Thank you. I had also lost my brother about a year before my mom passed, so it's the whole family. I really felt like he was the only one I had left, and I thought it was nice he was going to take care of me since I wasn't his kid, but I'd known him since I was a teen. I'm sorry for your loss too. Life is not a game on easy mode, that's for sure. Comment by user. If you only heard about the brother being a dick from mom's hubby and people who also heard it from mom's hubby, it's probably made up by mom's hubby. Reply by original poster. I visited my mom once and we spent some time with his family. They all would sit around and talk about how he stole millions from the whole family. My mom's husband wasn't the only person who got cut out of the will by the brother. The hubby's family are farmers with a lot of land that they lease out to Johnson & Johnson and others, so yearly they are all supposed to be getting money from it. My mom's hubby went to court many times over the 13 years that he and my mom were married. He was still dealing with it the last I spoke to him, and he told me had a new court date and this new judge seemed to want to help him and his family, etc. Comment by user. First, see a lawyer. You are almost certainly entitled to money from your mother's estate. Second, and this one is for everyone, making a will is easy and cheap. If you don't have one, get one. Third, the mom in this story has plenty of time to make a will. It seems to me she wanted to give her assets to her spouse but tell her child her hands were tied. Fourth, instead of being vindictive, hire a lawyer. Fifth, call a lawyer. Reply by original poster. No, I don't believe my mom wanted him to have all of it. My brother had died a year before and she loved his children. Even if I didn't get it, she would have left them some. Before she died, she asked me to give one of her grandkids a wedding ring from their grandpa. My brother and I had different dads. Her husband still has this ring. I had a big piece of art that I made for her and she asked me to take it back because she thought he would throw it away. He still has this. Comment by user. What state? Usually the spouse is sole heir when a person dies without a will, only when there are no living descendants. Reply by original poster. New York is where she passed and it all goes to the spouse. In Florida where I live it is split between the spouse and the children 50-50. It really sucks because my grandpa passed a short time before she did, and he didn't even like my mom's husband. Comment by user. You should speak to a lawyer about potentially suing him. In some jurisdictions, the intestacy laws state that where a person has a spouse and children which are not the biological children of that spouse, the kids are entitled to a share. In my jurisdiction, the bio kids would be entitled to half of the estate with the other half to the spouse. Reply by original poster. That's what I had thought at first, but in New York it's different. The first 50,000 goes to the spouse and any left over would then go to the children. However, my mom only received 47,000 from my grandpa. Someone else mentioned in a comment that because he promised to give me some, I may be able to go after him for that. I don't know, but I will at least check in on that. Comment by user. What? She knew she would pass away soon and knew you would get nothing. Why didn't she give you some of the money before she passed away then? Reply by original poster. The money hadn't been distributed yet. It was still with the estate lawyers as they sold off assets. She passed away February 4th, 23, and the checks were not distributed until late January 2024. Comment by user. Why would it be too late to make a will? Reply by original poster. I don't know. When she mentioned this to me in the hospital, I didn't even know what she was really talking about. I knew my aunts and uncles, who I don't speak to and am distant with, were waiting for their inheritance, but I never imagined how much it was. I thought she would get maybe 10,000 at most, and in the moment I wasn't too worried about it. My mom was sick and I was trying to get her to eat, and I was crying constantly while trying to remain strong in front of her. Maybe she was worried that she wasn't mentally fit and the will could be contested? Maybe she didn't get one because then she'd be admitting the possibility she might die and she didn't want to think about it? I don't know. All I know was that she was very apologetic and I kept telling her not to worry about it because she was going to be just fine. Comment by user. FYI, it takes about a year to settle an estate without a will. Just went through this with my grandfather. 13 months for the lawyers to cut a check. Reply by original poster. Yes, my mom passed in February of 2023, and her husband got a check this January 2024. At first they told my aunt that me and my Beather's kids would get the money. My Beather passed away about a year before my mom. They said I'd get 50% and his 2 kids would split the other 50%. They had us sign paperwork and everything. Then later they said they made a mistake and it was all going to him. Comment by user. My mom did something similar after my dad died despite having been divorced 30 years. I tell anyone and everyone faced with tears of joy, good for you. Reply by original poster. Yeah. Tell them all. If someone is such a low life as to do this, I think everyone should know what they are about. Maybe it won't change the minds of shitty people, but if he knows any decent person, I hope they distance themselves. People like this are energy vampires. Users. The worst. Comment by user. Get an attorney. If you have him saying this in voicemails or texts, he made a verbal contract. Reply by original poster. I plan on doing this. Others have said the same thing. I didn't know that was enough to go after someone. I have emails and texts where he's promising to give it to me and saying the exact amount. Comment by user. Karma's a bitch, he should have known better. Reply by original poster. Yeah, that's really all I did this for. This was a way for me to let go of my anger and frustration and heartbeat. This person I've known for half my life and who my mother loved is now basically dead to me, and he needs to get something back to show him how I felt about that. This was my last stand, and then I was going to try to put it behind me so it doesn't keep stressing me out. Though some people have stirred up hope in me again with their comments saying not to give up and speak to a lawyer. Comment by user. Actually, you could make a claim to the inheritance, since there is not written one, just based on what your mother told you and you being the only child, and seems you have proof that he was willing to share it. Maybe you don't get as much you could expect, but I think you can have a case. Reply by original poster. I'd be happy with less. That would pay off my car. I never wanted all of it. I told him to keep what he needed, and he settled on 17,000. That would have left 30,000, and I had planned on splitting it with my Beather's wife and kids to help them pay for the medical bills from when my Beather was on life support for almost a week before he passed. A few people have also commented saying I may have a case with my texts and emails where he is volunteering to give me the money. Comment by user. What sucks the most reading this is she didn't need to create a will. She just needed to designate beneficiaries on her accounts. Takes only a few minutes to do so. That's for bank accounts at least. Sorry for your loss. I just finished a lengthy legal battle with my dad's second wife. They were only married for 2 years. He passed from COVID in 2021 and we just finished the probate and litigation. I wish it on nobody. She tried to take everything, ended up wasting thousands in legal fees. The worst part is she got to use my dad's money to fight us while me and my others paid out of pocket. May that man and that bitch Gina both burn in hell. Reply by original poster. I'm sorry that happened to you. In the end, the worst part is his treatment. His empty promises. Building up my hopes. Making me frustrated and confused over and over again. It's not fun. I've been so stressed about the whole thing, that's why I decided to do this. My soul was screaming for justice of some kind. Fuck Gina, and fuck Jack. Comment by user. I don't have much to say, but I hope the best for you, OP, and I hope your friends become family. Everyone needs people they can trust and rely on. Reply by original poster. Thank you, this is very kind. I had to do something in response. The idea of letting him get away with lying to me, and hurting me, and abandoning me after knowing him for half my life really didn't sit well with me. Now that I've done this, I feel a sense of relief and release. I do have amazing friends who have been supporting me through this. Comment by user. File a complaint for theft. Take him to court, watch him loose, and be stuck with all the legal expenses? Reply by original poster. Someone else mentioned that because he promised to give me some in text messages that I may actually still be entitled to something. I thought I was out of options. It was eating me up, so when I did this I thought it was my last stand. I was just gonna let it go for my mental well-being. But now I worry that I'll regret it if I don't keep trying. I will be looking up some lawyers soon to speak with them about this so I can know for sure. Comment by user. You should have hired a lawyer right away. Anyone with even a little common sense could see he was stringing you along long enough until everything was switched under his name. I'm really sorry for your loss. Reply by original poster. Thanks for your condolences. I really believed him. When I went to visit her, we stayed in a dorm for people with relatives in the hospital located in a church. We bonded, I thought. My mom asked me to be good to him, and I felt so much sympathy for his grief because I was feeling it too. Comment by user. My dad sometimes complained about how after his mom died and his dad remarried. When Grandpa died, everything went to Grandpa's new wife, who was actually a nice lady. Dad didn't really need it, but his beather did, and neither of them got much of anything since Grandpa had remarried. She died a couple years later, so now her family has all Grandpa's assets. And then my parents got divorced and Dad remarried. We'll call his new wife Buja, which is what my beather-in-law's South American mom calls her. They had separate finances. How do I know? A year or two before Dad passed, and many years after their marriage, we were in the car going to the store and Dad says, "Oh, Buja, I forgot my card. Do you have yours? I'll pay you back." He was getting stuff to feed me, my sister, and sister's husband and child. Additionally, another time they'd bought an expensive piece of furniture, and I overheard him say he'd sent her half the cost of it. My dad made gobs of money in his time. My parents, when they were together, always had a will. There is no way on this earth that my dad didn't have a will. But he got diagnosed with dementia a couple years before he passed. And at some point I guess his wife combined everything since, dementia. He died. She said there was no will. Fucking liar. He'd verbally told me and my sister when he first got diagnosed how much he was planning on leaving us. She took everything and gave us nary a penny, nor any of my dad's belongings that would have at least had sentimental value. I just have her blocked on everything. She is evil incarnate and I don't need that in my life. Back when my mom was alive, this evil woman would go on my mom's social media and shit-talk to her about my beather dying, who died of an accidental drug overdose. Like, how cruel and trashy can one human being be? She talked shit about my mom's boob job, but guess what she did with some of her winnings after she stole all my dad's money? God, I do wish I'd publicly shamed her back then, but I keep my head down. Karma will come. And in a sadly kind of funny turn of events, my mom, who was a Psalm while I grew up, and spent all her money from the divorce, and was pretty beak when she died. She put me as her life insurance beneficiary. She had a car and some fancy purses and such from when my parents had been married. My dad was a millionaire, my mom was poor, and I got money when she died but zero when dad did. Weird how life goes. Reply by original poster. That's terrible. I'm sorry. It sucks that people get away with this. Comment by user. I mean this with tons of sympathy, but married people pass their assets to their spouses. If your grandfather dies, his assets become your mom's. And then they become your mom's husband's. He is legally entitled to it. Reply by original poster. Then he should never have promised me any. But he did. He promised me and then he lied over and over and over again. This is what he gets for that. Comment by user. Would it have made a difference if she had a will? Why didn't she make a will and leave it to you? Reply by original poster. My mom went to the hospital for a routine surgery. Then she got COVID and went into a coma. After she woke up, she got a little better. Then she got MRSA and it spread to her blood and she died. She should have had a will. She was very upset about it when I talked to her in the hospital before she passed away. The will would have guaranteed that I got what she had wanted me to get. Without a will, the inheritance is decided by the laws of the state a person passes in. Comment by user. Please see a lawyer about your situation. Most decent attorneys will offer a free consultation, so you don't have anything to lose. Reply by original poster. How do you know if they are a decent lawyer? What type of lawyer would I need to speak to? Comment by user. You're probably done. In Virginia, the statute is 1 year. Depending on your province/state/country, you may still be alive. Sorry for your loss. Reply by original poster. That's probably why he said he would give me some, and then kept making excuses for me to wait longer. He was running out the clock, so I couldn't seek legal help. He only got the check in January of this year, though. Comment by user. Sorry, but I find it very irresponsible of your mother not to leave a will if she had a large estate. Generating a will is far from a difficult process. I'd be wondering whether she even wanted you to get any money, and if her husband somehow persuaded her not to get a will so you get nothing. Reply by original poster. She didn't have an estate when she went into the hospital. My grandpa passed away shortly before she went in, and she didn't know how much she was getting. No one knew the exact amount until almost a year after my mom passed. Comment by user. My father was always worried that his kids wouldn't be there for our stepmother once he died. So about 6 months before he died, he transferred everything to our stepmother. His house, car, and a fortune he had made on the stock market. All legally gifted through a lawyer. It was his dying act to prove he loved her. But he's right. She's always been a cruel bitch and none of us would have ever visited her again. Now we have to wait about another 25 to 30 years. Faced with tears of joy. It's always best to just make your own way and not count on getting an inheritance. Reply by original poster. I never counted on it. I asked if he would share and he said he wanted to give it all to me. The fact is he built me up and ripped me down. It's not just about him keeping it. It's about him leading me on and making me feel this hope that I'd get it and then being a huge liar. Comment by user. You aren't owed anything. Trying to shame someone and cancel them being they didn't give you what you think you are owed is beyond pathetic. Reply by original poster. So many people are saying this because they can't read. I asked him if he was keeping it all or if he would share it. He volunteered the money. He offered to share it with me. Then he kept lying to me about it for months. He should have just said no and not fucked with my head. He's a liar and a thief. He deserves it. And I'm gonna get a lawyer now, because there's a chance that him saying he would give me money is enough for a case. Suck it. Comment by user. I'm sorry about your mom and the mess with the inheritance. Sounds like a rough time. Maybe talking to a lawyer could help sort things out. It reminds me of a movie plot, with all the unexpected twists. Hope things improve for you soon. Reply by original poster. Is it possible to get a lawyer to take this if I have no money to pay up front? Where would I start? Comment by user. The same thing happened with my grandfather. People are heartless. Reply by original poster. I'm sorry. It feels so terrible to be treated this way by people. I want him to hurt the way he hurt me, but at the same time I don't want it to take over my life. I hope you have been able to find peace with that happened and move past it eventually. Comment by user. Go to a good lawyer practicing in inheritance issues and get this assessed. Reply by original poster. Is that what I would look up? Inheritance lawyer? Not an estate lawyer? Comment by user. What state did your mom live in? I would talk to an attorney there. That intestate distribution doesn't sound accurate. Reply by original poster. She lived in upstate New York. The law there says if it's under 50,000 the spouse gets it all. Comment by user. Regardless of inheritance law, can't you sue to enforce his promise of splitting it? Reply by original poster. Is that a thing I can do? I still have text messages from him with the exact amount he promised to send me multiple times. Comment by user. Would love to get an update on this if anything does happen with the post that you find out about. He fully deserves it. Shame on him. I've also seen a comment or two about you lawyering up and I hope that you do that too. You're this woman's legal child. I'm sure there are things that are more about sentiment than money that you'd like to have too. Lying to you about his intentions and then flat out ghosting you after stringing you along for a while is fucked. Don't promise something you have no intention to give, especially not to someone who's already been through so much. Reply by original poster. He has all of her belongings and I'm not getting those back since he blocked me for calling him a liar. I'm pretty sure anything he can't sell will just go in the trash. The only new thing that happened is that someone from Newsweek contacted me about sharing this post. I hope that happens and I'll get someone in my family to text him the link. Those that have seen the messages I sent have not responded and I didn't hear anything from them. It's over. I had to stop responding to most of the comments here because so many people were dragging me, saying I deserve this and that my mom didn't love me. Comment by user. I don't know the legal situation in wherever you live, but it is common that the spouse/civil partner inherits if there is no will. Children sometimes have a compulsory partial inheritance, but that varies by country. He may be an asshole, but if all the inheritance passed to him, he is not obligated to pass it on to you. Your mother already had no will. Neither did not get his agreement written, signed, and notarized. Yeah, you got your petty revenge. In the future, stop repeating mistakes. Reply by original poster. It's not that comment for that to happen. Many states, including the one I live in, split it all 50-50. He's not obligated, right? But he said he would and made multiple promises and didn't do what he said he would. He also didn't just fuck me over, but also my late brother's family. I'm not done with him. Many people have commented saying that because he promised to share it with me, I may have a case to force him to do what he promised. Comment by user. Really, in all of this, your mom is an asshole for not making a will well before it ever got to this point. People, especially people who have / are going to have children, need to have wills in place. These should be updated over time too. This is just one of those things that, if you care for other people in your life, you make sure to have arrangements made to take care of them in the event of your death. Sure, stepdad sucks, and you may be able to pursue some of this money, especially if you have recording or anything in writing where he had agreed to give you anything. Seriously, you should speak to an attorney. But this was always on your mom to make sure she left you with what she wanted you to have. Sucks that this happened to you, and, for what it's worth, I'm sorry that it did. If you have children and or others you care about, remember this and make sure you have a will or trust in place for them. Reply by original poster. I do not think it's called for to call my mom an asshole. Comment by user. You should have got some legal advice before probate was granted. You may have been able to challenge the fact all her money went to her husband. Reply by original poster. All of this was done through my aunt who had power of attorney over my grandpa's estate. She told me that after my mom died, the lawyers said my brother's kids and I would get the money. Later they changed it to the husband because she lived in New York and their laws are different than Florida. Comment by user. So let me get this straight. You didn't even know your mom was sick until it was too late, and then you're only concerned with money. I don't think it's the husband that's the greedy piece of shit, bud. She left the money where she wanted and he doesn't owe you shit. Maybe you should have had a better relationship with your family if you wanted them to include you instead of just showing up when they die with your hand out. Reply by original poster. I don't know where you are getting this. I had a good relationship with this man. I even said we were on good terms in my post if you could read. I think it was perfectly acceptable to ask if he would share it since there was no will clearly stating she wanted it to go to him. And all he had to do was say, "No." The end. He didn't. He willingly and enthusiastically agreed to give me some. Then he lied dozens of times over the course of months, drawing this out and confusing me and frustrating me because none of it made sense. Treating someone like that is wrong. And some people have led me to believe that all of this is wrong and I am entitled to something, especially now with proof that he agreed to share it. But he was probably trying to put me off until it was too late to do anything legally. I knew my mom was sick for the last 20 years. As far as she told me, this was a routine surgery that she asked for to improve her quality of life. If she never got COVID in the hospital, there is a good chance she would have recovered, but after she started to deteriorate, she literally cried telling me she was sorry. I of course didn't comprehend what she was talking about in the moment because I was more concerned about her getting better than some issue with inheritance that I wasn't even aware would be as much as she got. You can make whatever assumptions you want, but he is a drug addict. When my mom was in the hospital, he was driving her car around drunk without a license and crashed it. He also was using her debit cards after to pay for taxis and other expenses for himself. She was crying to me that if she did get out, she would have nothing left to go home to because it was all gone because of him. She didn't even know how much she was going to get, so she didn't know if it was going to be enough to recover from what he did. He is a piece of shit. I just never imagined that he would be this shitty after losing my mom. I figured he would keep most of it, but would maybe give me and my Beather's widow something. I never asked for any specific amount or all of it. I just asked for consideration. Comment by user. The real question is, why do you feel entitled to anything over her husband? Reply by original poster. Because he offered it. When I found out he was getting it all, I asked if he would give me anything and he offered it all. I told him I wanted to share it with him, and he said he'd keep 10,000. He could have just said no. Instead he toyed with me and lied to me. The thing is that my mom had already told me this about him. When they were married, she asked me many times for money. He would spend all his on drugs and alcohol. A few times she told me he took money from her purse when she was sleeping. It's a complicated story. Either way, my grandpa didn't like him, and he tortured me for months before I called him out as a liar. Comment by user. Why do you care so much about the money? Reply by original poster. It's more about how he treated me. He was the last person I had with a connection to my mom. When they got the money, all I did was ask if they would think about giving me and my Beather's family some. I didn't demand it all. It was a fair question to ask, since all of the money came from my grandpa, who I was really close with. All this man had to do was say no, it's all mine. Instead, he offered me a large amount and lied over and over again. He got my hopes up only to bring them crashing down. My Beather's family was really hoping for this money, too. My Beather passed away about a year before my mom. His medical bills are still something they are dealing with. For him to get their hopes up was even worse. Actions have consequences, and it doesn't sit well with me that he behaved like this. Comment by user. Same thing happened to us. Mom passed. Her husband went on a spending spree, bought his dirtball kids' cars and a place in Florida. Then started calling my wife, telling her inappropriate stories about his dating escapades, and repeatedly harassed my sister's friend. He got ass cancer and died during routine endoscopy. Best place for him, really. His POS kids needed the money. They will always be trash. Everyone on our side is successful. Fuck him/them. Reply by original poster. I'm not wealthy. I get by with no debt, but it's paycheck to paycheck. I did rack up a little debt over Christmas because I really believed him that he was going to share the inheritance with me, and I bought some nice Xmas gifts for my friend and partner, and went on a camping trip on credit. Now I'm trying to pay that off because I didn't get anything from him. That's on me. Don't count your eggs before they hatch, right? But that's another reason I'm angry with him. I feel foolish for trusting him and getting myself in this situation. I really wanted to believe he was a good person. Wow, writing this comment is the only one that made me tear up. Fuck him. Comment by user. Geez, how does he sleep at night? Did he even love your mother? Reply by original poster. So, since you being this up, I'd like to say no. At least not in a healthy way. I really think he liked her just because she took care of him, cooking, cleaning, shopping, driving him places he didn't drive. Too many DUIs. I've always had a feeling like he was a bad person. But my mom refused to let me say anything about this to her. You see, her husband has a pill addiction. Pain pills. He would spend all his money on them. Sometimes when they were short on rent or something, she would call me for help. So he didn't worry about making her homeless or stressed. He cheated on her at least 2 times that she knows about. He didn't have a job because he owes a lot of child support, and if he got a job they would take it out of his paycheck. He only did odd jobs that were under the table so he could hide his income. My mom had polycystic kidney disease. She found out about 20 years ago. As she got older it became an issue as her kidneys swelled and her stomach got bigger. She started to worry that eventually she would be so big that no one would want her. Then she met him. He was about 13 years younger than her. She told me she was staying with him because she was afraid of being alone when she was old. I really sympathized with her, but I told her she could get better. The last few years my mom told me he was getting better and he even stopped drinking, but he was still taking the pills. Comment by user. If I pass away, I'm a senior citizen. All my inheritance should go to my wife only. Once she passes, then the inheritance goes to our children. Reply by original poster. It's nice that you trust her. Your wife would probably take care of your children with the money after you passed. Who knows though? Money changes people. Good chance your wife could do the same thing as this guy and abandon your kids to go live their best life. Comment by user. He doesn't have to give you a penny. Get over it. Reply by original poster. He doesn't, and that would have been fine if he didn't volunteer to give it to me, and promise at least 10 times that he was on his way to the bank to send it to me. He played with me. He lied. And he beat the trust and relationship that I'd had with him. I won't just let people treat me like that. Actions have consequences. Please leave your story in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to get new update. Thank you.